Hello, this is Dr. Joel B. Goodin. I'll be talking about PSY 7103 Research Methods Assignment 1. And here's basically what we have. You're going to see this in a little bit different format. Apparently I cut off some words, but I just pasted this into a Word document so I could talk about it. For this assignment, begin by exploring the library for scholarly articles on your area of interest. Now there are a lot of directions in each assignment that really I will have no idea whether you've done. So do them, but I will not see evidence that you've done it. Explore the library for scholarly articles on your area of interest, preferably the past 5 years. Then identify, here I'll make a note of that. Identify 2 studies that you think might inform a line of research. I'd probably say download. They need to be current, peer-reviewed. Once you have identified them, carefully probe the studies, read them to determine if there are any potential lines of research that the authors indicate require follow-up. So this would basically mean in the discussion section is their commentary on future studies should, and normally they'll list a few ideas that they have based on a follow-up study to their study based on limitations. We had a small sample size. Future studies need a bigger sample size or more diverse or something different or something that is sort of the next step in the research. So you're going to pay attention to that, and then you're going to suggest now what is a line of research? A line of research is the sort of specific conversation of research in a specific area of a discipline. I'm sort of defining that just a little simply, but here, so you could be studying how depressed individuals cope with suicidal ideation. It could be how soccer players are resilient to defeat during halftime. You know, it's not going to be so specific, maybe like during halftime, but it's going to be not so broad as how soccer players or how athletes are resilient. It won't be that broad, but it's not going to be how soccer players who are 12 to 18 years of age are resilient during halftime losing scenarios. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle, and something that can be like, well, we want to know more about this type of thing, so what can we do next? And that's really the purpose of this assignment, is to show you, the student, how to read, to identify a line of research while obtaining ideas for future lines of research. You will need to do this exact thing as you proceed toward a potential dissertation. They don't appear magically. Rather, a research problem for a dissertation is developed from what other current peer-reviewed articles are saying this thing, this phenomena, this problem needs to be researched. And when you have about 10 or 15 of those types of articles saying that one particular thing, there's a convergence on here's what needs to happen next. This needs to be studied. And whenever you're hearing that from 10 to 15 different scholarly peer-reviewed articles, then you have a good, potentially probably a good research topic for a dissertation, rather than one that you've just thought of as a good idea. So this is how you develop your dissertation. We're trying to prepare you for that by sort of identifying, well, here's what they're studying, and then here's how I can have ideas. I can actually identify what they said were future studies need to do X, Y, and Z. And then you're actually asked to provide, for each of the 2 studies, you're asked to pick out 2 studies you have selected, address the following. What line of research the paper is following, in terms of the vein of the research. So studies about, as I said, depressed individuals being resilient against suicidal ideation or something like that. And then recommend potential lines of research that you could examine based on your readings of the paper. So primarily focus and specify what they said were lines of research that future studies should do, like should seek to better understand how post-therapeutic stays in psych wards have outcomes that are stable or risky for future suicide reattempts. Sorry about the dark subject matter. I have a student working on something like this, so it came to mind. Primarily focus and specify what they said. So maybe they said future research should do this. Maybe they had some other future research should also, and whatever. And they'll maybe talk about, mention all that they suggest. That's something you should do. Also, I don't know how I got that big text. Also, mention any ideas for research you had while reading the article. So maybe the authors did not specify the research idea you had, but while reading it came to mind. And so there could also be some good logic for doing a study like that even though they didn't say it, you might have noticed, well, they didn't really control for this potentially moderating variable or whatever it is. Maybe they didn't ask a question that you think they should have asked, and you can sort of identify that as a potential line of research. A line of research being a continuation of this study towards a follow-up study. The length is going to be 2 to 4 pages, not including the title page and reference pages. Your paper should demonstrate thoughtful consideration. That means don't just copy and paste direct quotes. I need to see that you are comprehending the information of the ideas and concepts presented in the course by providing new thoughts, insights related directly to the topic. Your response should reflect scholarly writing. It means good writing mechanics, current APA standards. Be sure to adhere to the university's academic integrity policy, which is something I don't worry about it a whole lot, but I do notice when the tone of writing changes substantially and you suddenly sound like you've been being a professor for 20 years when before you sounded like a grad student that was sort of just learning scholarly voice and scholarly writing. So make sure that you don't have, make sure that when you paraphrase that you're using your own words. And they shouldn't be simplistic words, but they also shouldn't be somebody else's words. Basically the main point of this article is, to identify the line of research in 2 studies, but then responding to each of the 2 studies that you read and really elaborating on, here's how I can develop ideas for my research, by sort of saying, based on what they said future research needs to do, and based on the ideas I got, here are 5 to 10 ideas per article. So something like that, and that's really the bulk of what the assignment is about. It's about developing research ideas based on the current research presented in the study. And you're doing that for 2 different studies. And I think if you have any follow-up questions, just reach out by email to me. Thank you.